Welcome to the third pattern in our TradeSiety trading reversal course. And so far we have looked at the swing and the momentum reversal, which is the standard reversal. We have looked at the squeeze, how the squeeze and the trap pattern differ from the swing reversal, how we can read all the different clues, put them together. And now the third and final pattern is the trendline shift or the trendline break. And sometimes when you look at a market, you can see that there is a trending structure like we see here, but at the same time the moving average is not being respected. You don't have a clear price action around the moving average, just a lot of back and forth where price is not really caring about the moving average. But when we look at the overall picture, we can see we have multiple trend waves. At the top we have something like a head and shoulders where we go from making higher highs to making lower highs. We do have some rejection patterns, but this is very hard to trade if we just use our moving average as a filter. And with this pattern, that's where the trend line comes in. So let's take the trend line tool. You can get it here from the top menu bar, or if you have not done it, just go here to the left, click the first one. You can click on the star and then would be added to your quick bar, or just click here on the trend line and now you have selected it, and we will draw the trend line going from the lowest low. Then we connect the swing points here, and again it is there's no right or wrong when it comes to trend lines. The only thing that we have to remember is that we need at least 3 validation points, 3 touch points. So we start at the bottom, then we have the second one here, the third one, almost the fourth one here, and then that's a valid trend line that we have. And you can see that once the trend line is broken, it is a good signal that price is rolling over. At this point we also see that price is starting to make lower highs here. Let me grab that and mark it, so we can see again how with everything that we have learned so far, we can create a good story and good confluence. And by confluence I mean that we have multiple signals that all point to the same result and to the same story. So we have those lower highs, we have those rejections here, we then roll over, we move below this trend line for the first time. At the same time we can see that when we look at the scenario here, that here is probably some type of resistance area. So let's grab our rectangle tool, make it a little bit more dark, and now you can see here there seems to be a big confluence area. So just let's mark it on the chart, and we can see here it was a previous support, it has turned into resistance, has been resistance few more times, it then again turned into support here once we broke above it, and now here we can see price is moving into it again. We seem to have broken lower, we came back into it, we retested it, and so you can see that price is then also changing from making higher lows. We had a higher low here, a higher low here, and then now we have a lower low here at this area. So there are multiple ways of entering such a trade. You can potentially enter it after you see that the trend line has been broken and you then get this massive momentum shift. So there are 2 huge candles which are going into the new trend direction and confirming that we are seeing a shift in momentum. You can wait for the retest here. So if you see that the retest has been completed in this area and price is moving lower, you can enter with more confluence, more confirmation. As you can see, it is going to be a little bit of a late entry if you compare it to this one, but this one is more aggressive. But overall you can see the rounding off and how everything fits together in this story that price tells us. So the trend line can be used when you see that you have a market structure, the moving average is not working and it's just not giving any information or is not being of any help. But you can at the same time see the story that price is telling you. It is confirming that everything that we have learned so far is coming together, and so the trend line can help you find those shifts where price rolls over and is starting a new reversal and a new trend in the opposite direction. Let's take a look at another example here, and you can see we are on the New Zealand JPY, which is a minor forex pair, And as I said in the beginning, minor pairs, they can be more volatile at times, and there can be more whipsawing and more swings. And so the trend line shift or the trend line entry that we see in this module can often be found on minors. They do happen on majors as well from time to time, but usually you find them on minor pairs. So here again, we are coming from this very beautiful upward reversal here after this strong trend downside. We went from making lower lows to making higher lows, the break of the moving average, a nice retest, and off we go. And now to the upside, we had a little bit of a struggle. You can see we have those trend waves, 1, 2, and then this top here. There's even, when we look at it, a nice trap pattern here at the top, so a good confluence. We can see when we zoom out a little bit, there is going to be a big support and resistance zone in this area. Let me mark that. So you can see here a previous market top. We need to make that a little bit lower. Resistance, resistance. Here again, we stalled at it, has been support. The past swing high also found some resistance here, and now again we moved a little bit deeper into this area. There was some type of short-term supply also in this area, which falls right into this trap pattern here, just barely touched it. So a good confluence here from the market structure and from the price area. And now you can see the moving average again falls in the middle, so it's not going to be of any help for us. You can see here we have been in this range market sideways, so the moving average is clearly in the middle of the price action, but we can see when we draw it, there is probably going to be some type of trend line. Let's mark that precisely. So 1 touch, 2 touch, we need to adjust that a little bit. The 3rd touch here, this massive candle broke not only this trend line, but also this support and resistance block here. Again, very similar to the first example we looked at. We came below this area, we came back into it here, very nice retest, and then we sold off and kept going. So you can see how you can put this all together: the trap, the key support area, the break of the trend line, the retest of this major support area, and you can see then how everything fits together with everything that we have learned so far. Let's look at one more example. So here we are on the Aussie. This is a major forex pair, and you can see here we have been in downtrend clearly. You can see the sequence: lower high, lower low, lower low, lower low, lower low, and also the highs are going lower. But at the same time, the moving average is not of any help. The swings are pretty wide, and the moving average just falls into the middle of this range. So let us grab the Trendline tool, and we can see if we connect the highs, or just looking at a chart, there must be some type of trend line here. So let's start here and see how we can get the most confluence. And that is a very important principle. When you draw the trend line, you look for the most confluence you can get. So you can see here we don't use the absolute high here. We go for where we have a lot of touch points, and even going forward, a lot of touch points. Sometimes we overshot the trend line, but we don't close above it, and so this is a good trend line. So let's take a look at the other confluence factors that we have, and just looking at the highs and lows, you can see that there is head and shoulders in this area. So left shoulder, head, right shoulder. This is even here some type of double bottom with a very small trap pattern, not meaningful, but you get the idea. And then here we are starting to make higher highs. You can also see very nicely how we are finding support now in this area. Very important area has been support, came back into it, tested it as resistance, stayed a little bit below it, came back into it, retested it as support, and then we broke the trend line with accelerating momentum to the upside. So the first entry could have been here after the trend line has been broken, and after the momentum has clearly shifted. You can see large bullish candles to the upside. But again, we can see, just looking at this chart, there is some type of level in this area. So let's grab the rectangle tool again. Let's make this a let's mark this level, and you can see even here probably we are respecting this level almost. You can see here previous swing low, resistance, lots of consolidation in this area here, retest as resistance, and it's probably a little bit too wide. So now we come back into this area and retested it as support. So if you are long already, then you can use this information and confirmation. Once you see that price is pulling away again from it, you could add to your trade here. If you are not in the trade yet, if you have missed the first entry here, you just wait for a confirmation that price is moving higher away from this, and so you can get into such a trade at a later stage. If you can see that the momentum has shifted here, the previous trend is over, we have all this confluence, and although this is a little bit of a late entry, you can still see how we can put the pieces together and come up with a very good story and see how the price action fits into this major pattern here. And the final example for this video, again we are coming from an uptrend. We made this top here. We did not have a full and very strong reversal, but we just drifted here lower. You can clearly see we have lower lows and lower highs, but the moving average is in the middle. We cannot use it for this type of market and this type of reversal, but let's just look at what happens when we draw the trend line. We take the top here, we connect the highs here, try to find as much confluence as we get without destroying the trend line. So you can see if we connect the highs here, we have a little bit of an overreaction here, but we quickly fall back into the range. And here we have the third touch point, good reaction. And then here as well we can see, if we zoom out, that here seems to be a strong area of confluence. See previous swing low, resistance, and now here we are finding some support again with this very nice reaction. And then we are shooting above this trend line here. We even get our retest, and the retest pattern is very important. And if you see such a retest pattern, you can see we can draw such a trend line or such a horizontal line, and this can give you good information, because often on such trades you can see that if you had a trend line that was previously support, this one showed the last lowest swing high, often those will turn around, and what is resistance will then become support here. And if you missed the first entry after price broke this trend line, it was very high, you just wait. If you can get the retest of such a level, then you can re-enter with a good confirmation of this overall setup, and you can see how this also confirms the general trend theory. Price is making higher highs. If this trend line holds, we are also making higher highs. Can see this high and this high, so we are obviously making higher lows and higher highs at this point. And so if this trend line holds, or if this support level holds, and you see the move up, then you can re-enter in such a trade, even though the moving average is not of much help. And that's basically how you trade the trend line shift or the trend line retest. So if you see a market that you think you have a read on, but the moving average is not providing any help, you can just look at the way the highs and the lows shape up on your charts. You can then draw a trend line. If you get a trend line, then wait for the break, wait for the retest, look for such confluence areas, and then if you see that such a level holds and price confirms the trend direction, then you can find re-entry opportunities into an ongoing trend. And so that's it for this video. In the next video we will